Oh my goodness. That, Jason, is probably, I think, the hardest question you're going to ask.
Interviews with writers, filmmakers, artists, and actors.
That's a good question, though.
That's an interesting question.
That's a great question.
Count on Sci-Fi for Me to be there asking all of the questions.
It's another great question. These are all really good questions.
Bringing you news and opinion from all over the web. Sci-Fi for Me, delivering the multiverse since 2009.
So we're at 2110, which means we're crawling toward our next goal of 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? We're just that far away, right? Maybe. Good morning, Multiverse.
You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009. Live from our studios in Kansas City, this is sci-fi4me.tv.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thanks very much for joining us. As you can see on the board over there, we've updated 529 days without an incident here in the studio. We're very happy for that. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jason Hunt. I'm the editor here at Sci-Fi for Me. This is, for those of you who are new, our weekly wrap-up of headlines in science fiction, horror, fantasy, video games, comic books, and more. We're going to have some Comic-Con updates and the weather for those of you who are traveling to said Comic-Con, so we do hope you stick around. Probably going to run about an hour and a half today, hour and 45 minutes, so just to give you a heads up what to expect. We start, as we always do, with our events and Comic-Con updates, what we like to call our school closings list. We don't have too much in the way of COVID-19 policy updates, but we do have a couple. ChiCon in Chicago, which is hosting the Worldcon this year in September. They are requiring proof of vaccination and masks. TwitchCon in San Diego, California has updated their policy. They're going October 5th through the 7th. They're requiring either a proof of vaccination or a negative test plus masks up. And MatsuriCon has done an update as well. They're coming up in Columbus, Ohio this weekend. Anybody who's going this weekend, they're saying a proof of vaccination or a negative test and masks. That was the policy last week. And this week, they have updated that with a post over on social media saying that because there is a limited availability of PCR tests, they're also going to accept healthcare-administered antigen tests, so antibody tests, with official documented results, but no home tests still. They just wanted to update because apparently there are certain types of tests that are hard to come by, so they want to make it a little bit easier for people to make it in to the event. And let's see, where do we go from here? Let's do this. D23, the 100th anniversary of the Walt Disney Company, will be front and center at this year's D23 Expo, September 9th through the 11th. New Marvel, Disney Plus, parks, and animation presentations planned for the weekend. Plus, there's going to be panels for various movies and TV shows. Tron is going to get a panel. The Simpsons and Encanto, a sneak peek at Zootopia Plus. 5 stages at the Anaheim Convention Center. It's a sold-out show, but it will be live-streamed at D23Expo.com and the Disney 23 YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. The Disney Legends Award ceremony will be Friday the 9th. Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 20th Century Studios will have a presentation on Saturday the 10th, and there will be a panel celebrating the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man that day. And on Sunday, we'll have panels celebrating 70 years of Disney Imagineering and 90 years for Goofy. Gorsh, right? That's what he says, right? Gorsh. All right. Now, we don't have any new events lists. Is that right? This week we're trimming and editing and updating. But we do want to make sure that we are current. So if you have an event that you want to let us know about, if it's not on our list, we definitely want to add it. Whether it's a library event, a hotel conference room, or a big convention center corporate event, we want to know about it. So send us a note, events@sci-fi4me.com. And you can go over to the events tab over on our .com page and make sure that your event is on the list. We are inching closer to 2,500 on that list, so we do want to make sure that it's current. So the calendar gets updated all the time. Mrs. Boss is constantly looking at that and making sure that everything there is updated as correct as we can get it. So we want to make sure that your event is included as well. Now, if you're planning to travel to a convention next weekend, part of our work here involves helping you prepare for that, and that means the weather.
Thanks for watching Sci-Fi for Me TV. Be sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our channels so you don't miss our next broadcast. You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009.
You know, I noticed there's a lot of rain on those forecast cards for next weekend. I hope there aren't too many parades going on, because it's never fun when you rain on somebody's parade, right? Jurassic World Dominion set for DVD and Blu-ray next week. It'll include 14 extra minutes. That means now 2 hours and 40 minutes. The theatrical release was 2:26. It'll include the film's original prologue. We have a link in the notes. But that only accounts for about 5.5 minutes. Also included on the disc, the short film Battle at Big Rock, also linked in our notes. That was released ahead of Dominion. It's also directed by Colin Trevorrow. Plus 45 and some change minutes of behind-the-scenes featurettes. The shorter theatrical version is also available on the disc. This is out August 16th. And coming to DVD, Blu-ray, September 13th from Shout Factory, the collector's edition of Ralph Bakshi's Cool World, starring Kim Basinger, Brad Pitt, Gabrielle Byrne, and you need to watch it at least once before you die. It's pretty cool. Toonsmith Jack Deebs, played by Byrne, gets pulled into his creation, Cool World, by his heroine, Hollywood, played by Basinger. Turns out she's got a plan to seduce him in order to get out to the real world and become a real person, not an animated toon. Brad Pitt plays a hard-boiled detective. He's the only other real-life human within Cool World. The release includes a 4K scan from the original camera negative approved by Bakshi. There's also a featurette, The Wild Minds of Cool World, with new interviews. And that will be kind of exciting. I haven't sat and watched that in a very long while. I might need to pick that back up. Also, we've got a deal between Shout Factory and the Jim Henson Company, a worldwide distribution deal that will deliver 13 Henson series to streaming, broadcast, home entertainment platforms around the world, and that includes... No, I don't want to delete it. I want to turn the picture on. It includes Farscape and the Peacekeeper Wars. The multi-year agreement also includes the Emmy-winning fantasy series The Storyteller, Lighthouse Island, Living with Dinosaurs, Dog City, Brats of the Lost Nebula, to name a few. Shout Factory also has access to archived content, and they'll use that to roll out the various distribution efforts in their marketing plans. And they plan long-term growth with streaming media, digital, on-demand, broadcast, DVD, Blu-ray. It sounds like Farscape is the first on the list of shows to get out to the masses. No timeline has been reported yet, but Tim Harvey, it's about time, I would say. Yes?
Yes, definitely. It gives me the tiniest bit of hope that we might finally get our long-promised Farscape sequel, reboot, return to
one of these
generation.
days. Yeah, one can hope, I guess, right?
I mean, pretty much everybody's still around. I think the only Anthony Simcoe, who played Dargo, has, I think, moved out of acting entirely. I think he's an agent these days. But I'm sure that even though the character, spoiler alert, doesn't make it to the end of the series, there's all kinds of fan fiction that very well brings him back.
They could probably throw enough money at him for at least a cameo or a smaller part or something, you know. But
Mindy, am I okay with the reboot with this? Not really. I'd prefer to have the original cast back, just because you know, they all are still just fantastic actors and so much fun to watch, and the chemistry is there. But at this point, we've gone. We're really close to a generation later.
Yeah.
And if you have to have a reboot, at least put it in a generation between them. But no, I'd rather have the original cast back.
Well, I mean, you could do a Farscape the Next Generation type of thing. I mean, Crichton and Aaron's kid is now. I mean, there's enough time passed.
Which actually, the various proposed for a couple of different online series that have been in development at various points. That was, I think, both the two ones that got as furthest along down a very short line. Both involved Aaron and Crichton's son. His adventures. Yeah. So you wouldn't even have to have. I mean, that's close to a reboot when you think about it, because you wouldn't have to have the main characters do anything other than cameos. But yeah, I want my Crichton and Aaron back, to be honest.
Right. By the way, I see BK Dan in the chat saying, just discovered the channel, so far like the format. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hope you stick around. Now, speaking of format, let me change this so Mr. Harvey can do his thing. I'm going to get out of the way. You've got some scary stories this week, sir.
I have some news, to be sure. And congratulations, of course, to the folks over on the Nope production team. They've crossed the $100 million domestic. I don't currently have the worldwide numbers at this time, but that's not too shabby. And we're not going to complain about that for a horror film release. Not bad at all. And speaking of not bad, Jason Blum has some very positive news about the company that he runs. Blumhouse, of course, doing very well financially, not looking for investment or anything like that. And the success of the company, the chart of the success of the company has been pretty well. Of course, remembering that they got started doing a lot of very, very small films, and they've now become a powerhouse in the industry, so much so that, of course, they're working on the new Exorcist remake. That's going to be directed, of course, by David Gordon Green, who, of course, revived the Halloween series. So now, in this interview that he had with Deadline, Blum says there's some very exciting things coming up. He says, I'm very excited about Spawn. And as someone who believes we'll get a new Spawn film when I actually see the film open in theaters, that's interesting news. Also, apparently they are still working. We've heard this before recently as well, but he says that they are still moving forward on Five Nights at Freddy's. And this is actually, positive news, willing to go on the record. This stuff is still happening. He also said that, quite frankly, the Paranormal Activity series is coming to an end as far as Blumhouse is concerned. He said it's been enough. There's been enough films. Somebody else can carry it on. If it's going to go happen, that's fine. But as far as Blumhouse is concerned, they're finished with it. He said that if Scott Derrickson shows up and says, I've got a great idea for a Paranormal Activity movie, maybe he'll consider it at that point. But quite frankly, he's not particularly interested in carrying on the series. And quite frankly, can't disagree with him on that. Of course, John Carpenter has some news on the horizon. Now, of course, he's been doing a lot of music stuff of late, including music for the Halloween movies, the current run. He had an interview with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette where he says that he's very excited about the upcoming final film. Air quotes, it's a horror movie. Final is a thing that doesn't necessarily mean that the same way anywhere else. He thinks that potentially this particular set of filmmakers might be done with it, but there could continue going on. He does have some projects in the works that he is developing, lined up and percolating, and I'm quoting here, and will involve him flexing his skills as a director, writer, and a composer. Now, the last film that we saw from Carpenter was The Ward. It's been 12 years since that film came out. No official word, but obviously could be something on the way. And Rose Byrne is returning to the Insidious franchise. Now, the last time I think we saw her was Insidious 2. Now, the new Insidious film returns to the Patrick Wilson character, who is the husband of the character that Rose Byrne plays. So she is returning as well. And of course, this involves their kid going off to college and, the bad things happening. Josh Lambert is the character Patrick Wilson is playing, and he takes his son off to college, but that doesn't help him escape the demons of his past. July 7th, 2023 is the currently planned release date for that film. And we've heard a little bit about Lisa Frankenstein coming out. Now we have a little bit more about the cast. Carla Gugino, Liza Soberano, Joe Crest, Henry Elkenberry are all joined the cast. And of course, Carla has had a long history in just genre as well as a ton of other stuff. She's 100 films on her resume. This is set in 1989. The premise here is that Lisa, who is not a popular high school student, reanimates a handsome Victorian corpse. Through the power of the tanning bed in her garage, manages to revive this ancient guy. Clearly, we're in romantic comedy horror territory here. We don't have a lot of more information about the plot, or who these folks are actually playing. Now, of course, this is coming from Diablo Cody is the writer on this, and it has already started in production in New Orleans. So obviously we'll have more news about that as it develops, but I'm liking the cast so far. And Stephen King's Regulators is getting a film adaptation. Bohemia Group has optioned the film rights. George Cohen is going to be directing this. Now, this is a Western horror thriller, which is the companion novel or the Mare novel to Stephen King's Desperation. Now, this is something that we've actually seen Desperation make it to a adaptation on television. But it's the story of a peaceful suburban town, a little bit of, everything's fine on Poplar Street in Wentworth, Ohio, until 4 vans with shotgun-wielding regulators start to terrorize the residents, and then the town starts to turn into a child's version of a Western landscape, and it's very, very bad. So we'll have to see. Of course, Stephen King adaptations can be really fantastic, or not so much. We'll have to wait and see how this develops. And the long road to getting another Friday the 13th film may be coming to an end. There's a possibility, there is rumor here, and it's all rumor at this point. We've heard this sort of thing before, but the legal battles as they have progressed for Friday the 13th may have been resolved enough. I think there's still some stuff out in the world dealing with this nonsense, but we may have gotten to the point where it's actually closer. Roy Lee, who's a producer in the horror world, had a conversation with the folks over at the Boo Crew for Bloody Disgusting, and he said, when it comes to Friday the 13th, that one is something I would love to talk about. You may be hearing something by the year's end on that front. All right. So May is the operative word. We'll have to see. Fingers crossed. It's not my favorite horror franchise, but I know that it has a ton of fans, and it has been over a decade since we've had a Friday the 13th film. And it's be nice to see if nothing else, having all that legal nonsense finally resolved. And if you are a fan, hit the right button. If you are a fan of The Strangers, of course, the first film, very, very popular, very, very disturbing, got a sequel, which you may or may not have seen. It's getting 3 more, apparently. Also, over on the Boo Crew, the Bloody Disgusting, a lot of fun news coming out of that particular podcast right now. 3 more films have been lined up, including one that's probably going to be directed by Rennie Harlan. Of course, he did Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Deep Blue Sea, Exorcist, The Beginning. How you feel about that? But that particular set of films is on the way. We don't have actual dates on this, but apparently some of the stuff is moving forward into production. So there's a lot coming in this particular series of home invasion films. We'll have to see what plays out with that. And Bloody Disgusting again. You guys are busy. I've teamed up with Screambox to bring Terrifier 2. It's coming to theaters before it arrives on Screambox. It is currently getting ready, and this is if you've not checked out the first Terrifier, it's a lot of fun, and it definitely inspired a lot of fans, so a lot of folks who are excited about this coming back. But it's first going to be premiered at UK Frightfest. It is going to be August 25th to August 29th. Should you find yourself in the UK, Monday, August 29th, and tickets are available should you happen to be over there. I want to make it to the premiere. And Don't F in the Woods 2 special edition Blu-ray is on the way. Now, of course, it is definitely a little bit of horror comedy. Camp counselors in horror movies. It's not going to be fun for them, but probably a lot of fun for us. Now, this is the 2016 cult hit with the original, and some of the original cast is returning for this. It's going to hit digital on October 11th of this year, and there's going to be a Blu-ray edition following in December. I'm tempted just to leave this one up here and not say anything about it for a minute. Amityville Thanksgiving. Yep. I don't know what other words there are. There is a plot, apparently, involving couples therapy and the holidays and a sinister psychologist and I guess evil turkeys. It's really hard to tell. It's going to come out. Oh, you can pre-order your copy now. It's going to come out November 8th.
I don't know, Tim. It sounds like a real turkey to me.
I think it's just this whole thing is just foul. On the other hand, there is a 5-movie collection of Phantasm coming out on September 27th. Well Go USA. It's available for pre-order. It's only $26.99. This is something I am probably going to pick up. It includes all 5 films of the franchise, 1979's Phantasm, all the way up to 2016's Phantasm Ravager. It's going to have audio commentaries and a few other extras. I don't have a list of that currently, but that's one that I definitely would like to have. And of course, we have one new photo released here from the new Wednesday series. Jenna Ortega sharing this on her Instagram. Of course, she is not alone in this. There's got to look, shaking up to have a pretty solid cast, including Yellow Jackets' Christina Ricci, of course, who played Wednesday Addams. And she said that she is very flattered to have been asked by Tim Burton to return to the role. It's nice to be part of this next iteration of that character. It's fun to watch. It's fun to see other people's takes on things. What they put themselves into was something like that. Like I said, Richie is part of the Yellow Jackets cast, which of course has its own sizable group of fans at this point. It's gotten a ton of great reviews, and it's a nice little fandom growing. And getting ready to start production on season 2. Lauren Ambrose has joined that cast, playing the adult version of one of the characters. We'll have more news on that as that develops. And if you're a fan of the X-Files, Vince Gilligan, who is, of course, was one half of the creative team on that, and of course, the guy behind Breaking Bad, among other things, Better Call Saul, which is coming to an end here. One more episode? He is going to be returning to the creepy space. It's described as both the X-Files, comparing it both the X-Files and the Twilight Zone. So definitely got some interesting potential here. It's going to be a brand new television series. He's working with Sony Pictures TV, and he's going to start shopping it to the networks. So we'll see what happens. It's not supposed to be a sci-fi drama, though, or specifically a horror show. It is going to be something focusing on the human condition. Similar themes of bending reality while holding a mirror to humanity. So we will see what that turns into. But apparently it's got a multi-series arc with a overarching story. So we'll see what that turns into. Definitely potential there, especially if you're old enough to remember the X-Files when it was new on TV. And we have a few photos coming out, at least not all of what's been released, but here's a few of them, from the Mayfair Witches, which is the companion piece of the Anne Rice adaptations coming to AMC. Of course, Interview with the Vampire is the other big one. Mayfair Witches is a spin-off series that has its own multi-book arc. And here we have Alexander Daddario, Harry Hamlin, Annabelle Gish stars in this. This particular one, we've got the top photo there is our lead character, our intuitive young neurosurgeon who discovers that she is the heir to a family of witches. We'll have more as this develops, obviously. An American Horror Story 11 is on its way, coming out around Halloween this year. We don't have a title for this series. American Horror Story always has a subtitle. But Billy Lord, Zachary Quinto, Isaac Powell, and Patty LuPone will be returning in the new season. Sandra Bernhard apparently is going to be joining the cast. Joe Montello and Charlie Carver apparently are also going to be adding in. We're going to get up to at least American Horror Story 13. We'll see what happens beyond that. And if you are a fan of Love, Death, and Robots, a lot of people are. And of course, it came out in 2019, got a lot of great buzz. Volume 4 is on its way. And it is don't actually have dates on when that's coming back. It's not the May 20th of this picture here, but it's been renewed for season 4. It's on its way, and you can check out the first 3 seasons out there in the world. They're all over on Netflix. And if you want some anime in your world, Chainsaw Man is coming from Crunchyroll this October. It's based on the manga that is written and illustrated by Tatsuki Fujimoto, and this is actually an image from that manga as opposed to the animated series. And it involves a world where demons attack people and you can fight back. And a young man is betrayed and becomes one of the chainsaw men with a chainsaw sticking out of his head and arms turned into chainsaws. And the trailer is out and it's wonderfully gory. And if that is your thing, then it is on its way. And if you enjoyed the Hulu Prey film, of course, a prequel film to the original Predator, and of course, it's gotten a lot of positive buzz. So if you want some more, there is a book that's coming out now, called from Titan Books, Predator: Eyes of the Demon. It's a brand new anthology, full of exclusive short stories. This is not a bunch of reprints all bundled together. This is all new stuff, and it covers quite a range of locations and stories, and they are set in the expanded Predator universe. Involved, coming from the first film, and going out, set in the recent past, the present, and the future. These edge of your seat adventures by many of today's top science fiction and horror authors takes place on Earth and in the dark, unforgiving reaches of space. We've got Stephen Graham Jones, Linda Addison, Peter Briggs, Scott Sigler, Amir Habib, Joshua Pruitt, Tim Lebon, and quite a few other authors involved with that. On the video game side of things, Skybound Entertainment has got more Walking Dead. Walking Dead All-Stars is a new mobile game coming out. It's Come to Us Holdings. Familiar with that particular one? It's coming for both your iPhone and your Android. Pre-registration is starting now. I don't actually have a date on this, but you recruit survivors, allies, and iconic characters from the series involving Rick, Michonne, Glenn, and you all get to fight against walkers. While you register for the game, you can also get a free exclusive font that comes when you register. It's called Survivor's Font. It would be the whole distressed kind of appearance thing that you get from the Walking Dead universe. And exciting news for folks of, vintage video games at this point. THQ Nordic and Pieces Interactive are bringing back Alone in the Dark. Now, this is not a remake exactly of the original game. This is set in that same kind of world, involving some of the same characters, but it's an all-new spin on things. You don't have to be familiar with the original Alone in the Dark game, or God help you, the movie. So this is pretty exciting news. I'm actually someone who quite enjoyed playing Alone in the Dark back when it was a video game, brand new video game. But it is a love letter, they describe it as, to the 1990s game. It's coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox, PC, and Mikkel Hedberg, who did the writing for Soma and Amnesia: The Dark Descent, is the writer on this thing. And we also have one of the designers, Guy Davis, who has worked with Guillermo del Toro, has designed the monsters for this. So definitely one to look forward to. And Requiem Online is coming back. It's getting relaunched. It's got a number of improvements and other changes. Now, whether or not that means those changes are improvements is going to be up to you. It's coming back August 25th, so right around the corner. It is available for pre-registration. If you're not familiar with the game. It takes place in a distant land where the Thanatos, the word for death, Thanatos incident has happened, causing horrific monsters to run rampant. Players will seek to quell the onslaught of nightmarish creatures that have invaded the land with a biological weapon. So brand new content, and apparently the things that you liked about the first game are coming back, or the first version is coming back for this. Now you could pre-register, go to the official website. You get 24 hours of VIP game time, rental mounts, 3 ioxinic gear pieces. I have no idea what those are. 2 ornaments and 1 implant. The 25th, again, this is coming out. It's always more fun to see horror games get out there in the world. And that is all I've got for you guys this morning. Now, this is not the end of the news about gaming. We've got that coming up a lot more of that after the break. And we hope that you'll stick around. And thank you folks for watching, and have a great weekend.
You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, your portal to the science fiction multiverse.
There's something special about sci-fi, horror, and fantasy movies when they take a singular concept and they kind of blow it apart into something that feels completely outrageous, but then you pull it back.
The next moment in the story is got some science fiction that is so bolstered by this moment where we've created this juxtaposition of science fact and science fiction. It makes it a lot of fun, and it makes it quite believable.
Live from the bunker, only on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
We are going to put some rules in place.
The grown-ups are back. And this time,
Don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it.
no subject is sacred.
When they're making fun of him for being a Christian,
No issue is ignored.
This is a tragedy. This is a horrible thing.
And no one is safe.
But as someone who deals with depression, this is an issue with me.
The H2O Podcast, Monday night at 8, only on Sci-Fi for Me TV. You're watching Good Morning Multiverse, live on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the video game segment on Good Morning Multiverse. I'm Mark D'Alfonso, I'll be your host like always, and let's just jump into the news for August 14th, 2022. Fun transition. Alright, so our first story of the week is that Overwatch will stop selling loot boxes starting at the end of August. The Overwatch Anniversary Remix Volume 3 event is the last chance players will have to purchase loot boxes in the game. In a blog post detailing the event, Blizzard has quietly revealed that loot boxes will no longer be on sale as of August 30th. In a statement, they said that loot boxes will no longer be available for sale. However, you will still be able to earn standard loot boxes just by playing the game after the event. And this is likely due to the fact that Overwatch 2 will launch in early access on October 4th, and it's a free-to-play title, and it will include battle passes rather than loot boxes. So they're doing away with the random gambling aspects of their monetization process. When asked what would happen to unopened loot boxes players may have stored, Overwatch commercial lead John Spector replied that any currencies that players might be holding onto will come with you into Overwatch 2. Next up, there's another game that has had new information released on it, and that game is Splatoon 3. In a new 30-minute direct video presentation available on Nintendo's YouTube channel, fans and viewers were taken on a deep dive throughout this new installment to the Splatoon series. It's been announced that the game launches on Nintendo Switch, obviously, on September 9th, and pre-orders for the game are available right now for you to buy. Some of the highlights of the Direct included a brand new story mode, improved gameplay, new and returning game modes, Splatfests are returning, brand new weapons and improvements to old weapons, character customization, lobby features, and obviously the most important thing is new amiibos are coming out, and the game will receive updates post-launch for 2 years. And again, if this is a game you are interested in, pre-orders are open right now. And in another announcement that came this week, Persona 5 Royal Remastered has a brand new release date. The release date will be October 21st of this year, and Persona 5 will be the first out of Persona 3, 4, and 5 to be coming to Xbox consoles. And Persona 5 will also be receiving a PC port as well, with 3 and 4 receiving those ports at a later date. And again, the trailer is on YouTube, so if you want more information, you'll be able to find it there, but it's coming out on Xbox really soon. Next up, we have a bit of business news, and that is that Horizon Forbidden West has taken back the #1 spot on the UK video game sales charts. After Xenoblade Chronicles 3 debuted at #1 last week, it became the biggest launch in that series so far. The title dropped all the way down to #10, with sales down 83% this week compared to its release. Horizon Forbidden West has recently been boosted by hardware bundles, and while sales for Sony's hit were down 25% week on week, it was enough for it to reclaim the #1 spot. Hardware bundles also benefit another Sony game, this one being Gran Turismo 7, which climbed from #13 to #5 following a 32% increase in sales. Promotions on the PS5 versions of Battlefield 2042 and Demon's Souls also helped those titles re-enter the charts, respectively at #24 and #13, and there was unfortunately no new entries into the charts this week. So Sony is continuing to dominate the sales charts in the world of video games. And now, this past weekend had a big event that I want to talk about, and that event was EVO. The first announcement is that EVO Japan will be taking place in 2023, the weekend of March 31st to April 2nd, so we have more fighting game tournament goodness to look forward to. And they also announced the titles that will be played on the main stage, being Guilty Gear Strive, King of Fighters 15, Street Fighter 5, and Tekken 7. One big omission on this list is obviously Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which has made many fans into competitive fighters, and unfortunately it won't be on the main stage at EVO due to the fact that EVO is owned by Sony, and obviously Nintendo is one of its prime competitors. So it makes sense why it wouldn't be on the main stage, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were other side tournaments happening for the game at the same time as EVO. And now EVO is also a fun time for announcements from the developers of fighting games. The first one being that Dragon Ball FighterZ will be getting rollback netcode, and also it'll be getting next-gen versions on PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S. And with the release of these versions of the game, they will come with the rollback netcode system already implemented. And Dragon Ball FighterZ is one of the last outliers in the fighting game sphere that doesn't have rollback netcode enabled on their online. And now that they're doing it, it's good news because it's probably one of my favorite fighting games. And rollback netcode, for those of you who don't know, it just makes the online much smoother when you're playing as opposed to the system that they have now. So this is fantastic news for fans of Dragon Ball FighterZ. And now we get into teases, my favorite, as again, EVO also had many teaser trailers shown. For one, SNK announced that a new Fatal Fury game is in development. The only thing that was shown though was this image of the series protagonist, Rock Howard. Now, just the fact that they announced that, hey, they're making another Fatal Fury game is exciting news, because if you follow that series at all, you'll know that it's been over 20 years since the last Fatal Fury game, and that was Garo Mark of the Wolves, and we haven't seen Terry Bogard and all those other characters in their own series for the past 20 years. So just the fact that they announced, hey, we're making this thing, is exciting news for fighting game fans. And then that wasn't even the biggest tease of the weekend, as another fighting game franchise teased something big coming, and this fighting game series is Tekken. Now, Tekken is a huge game, as you know. Tekken 7 was played on the main stage at EVO. And again, EVO is usually the time where they announce new things for this series. And again, just like Fatal Fury, they announced something, but not a lot of it was shown. It was just an updated look on Kazuya Mishima, the game's main character, with the subtitle "Get Ready." But of course, Katsuhiro Harada, the director, is a big tease, so they didn't say what we need to get ready for, just that something big was coming. Is it Tekken 8? Is it a completely different kind of game? I have no idea. But I'll be keeping tabs on this, so you'll certainly hear more about it as we get more information. And there you have it, folks. That's the news for this week, August 14th, 2022. I'm Mark Delfonso. Thanks for listening and for indulging me on my crazy fighting game fanaticism. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Do all that stuff. Follow the channels on all the social medias. And you'll hear from me again next week for more video game news. See you next time, guys.
A lot of times here we talk about technology and how it's evolved. Business Boss and I have just finished watching Light and Magic and looking at all of the developments on camera technology and filmmaking technology over the years. It strikes me that now the democratization of filmmaking has really boiled down to that little device that you've got in your hand. I mean, you can make films, make movies from the comfort of your own home, and sometimes it's just as a process of drag and drop almost anymore. So it is what it is. Now there is a new tool that has been introduced into the marketplace. It is called Richcast, and we have an explainer video about that. So here is that, because this is a setup for a conversation here. So.
Introducing Richcast Next Generation Media, a new device-agnostic format and platform for interactive streamed media. A convenient, easy-to-use browser, player, and editor opens up a whole new world of possibilities. Everyone loves entertainment and information on their mobiles. It's even better, more personal and engaging when that entertainment is interactive. But developing interactive media is currently difficult, time-consuming, expensive, and requires updates. Richcast solves all these problems and has many further benefits like voice recognition, monetization, analytics, and more.
Where should we go, Holmes?
Let's go to the bedroom.
Today, Richcast works well for interactive stories and quizzes, but tomorrow there are no limits. Richcast enables anyone to create, share, and publish interactive titles through the built-in, fast, and easy-to-use no-code editor. Richcast opens a world of creative and endless possibilities for streamed interactive entertainment, education, and information. Richcast is next generation media.
And joining me to talk about Richcast, which is a product of Panavox, we've got Philip Oliver. He is the co-founder and CEO of Panavox. Thanks for coming on the show today. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Jason.
So this says next generation media. It's platform agnostic. So I'm assuming that means it runs on iOS, it runs on Windows, it runs on Android.
Mac, and it will be browser.
Okay. Now, what was the
thinking? And eventually we can hit all the consoles as well.
Oh, okay, okay. So PlayStation and
Why
Xbox and
not?
all that other stuff.
Absolutely. We still have to create a player, just as you would have a player with YouTube. We still need to make the player, but we've got the programmers. We're just working through all the tasks.
So, what exactly is this? This. For those who are looking at this saying, "Oh, well, this is kind of like Windows Movie Maker and iMovie and that sort of thing." I'm looking at some of these diagrams and I'm seeing drag and drop type of process. Is it as easy as that, or am I looking at something here
that's no, there you go. That's exactly how it is. It's that easy. So let me give you a bit of background to kind of explain where this came from. So first of all, the founders of the business, myself, my twin brother Andrew, and Neil Campbell, we've been making games for many, many years. You can probably see some of them behind me. I've personally written about 50 games myself, and that's doing the code myself. But I had a big company. We've all had companies, and we've made so many games. And a lot of making games, so much of it is repetitious. You're doing the same code to do the same things time and time again for each game. And obviously, you get middleware like Unity and Unreal to sort of take out some of the labor. But we were looking at the fact that a lot of people like making interactive fiction. But each time they have to sort of rewrite the engine themselves.
Right.
And we're like, well, this is crazy. Why don't we make a platform where people can actually make interactive fiction by just dragging and dropping tiles and putting the choices in there for the players to do? But the minute we started thinking about that, we thought, well, it could be interactive podcasts, it could be interactive movies, a bit like the Bandersnatch, the Black Mirror Bandersnatch episode. And we're thinking, actually, there's so many features that we could put into this. We can put voice recognition into it. We can put AI voices so that people can actually just type what they want their characters to say, assign them a voice, and then it will actually play back the voice. So they don't even have to go and get voice actors. They can if they like. And in fact, a lot of the titles we've put voice actors. It's just an incredibly powerful tool set to make these, but obviously it needs to run. We've got like a browser or library system so that you find the titles, and it's a whole platform in itself. So creators can make, players can find and play the games.
So when you're putting all of this together, what kind of issues did you run into? Because if you're making this thing so it's compatible with everything, I mean, right now you've got people that are complaining about, if you're on an Android device, iMessage over on your Apple devices don't work anymore. Now you have this platform agnostic thing. How difficult was it to code for that so it would work everywhere?
Thankfully, I'm not doing the code. It's actually very difficult to code. It's very difficult to code, but that is one of the problems we actually have these days. In fact, there are so many different devices. There are so many different display types and sizes. I mean, if you just look at mobiles, there's all sorts of different profiles of sort of pixels, vertically, horizontally. You've even got the new flip phone where you kind of open it up and it's more square. So you haven't got just got landscape and portrait, you've got square. And you've got all the operating systems. But if you were making an individual interactive story, trying to hit all that off, that's incredibly expensive, incredibly time consuming. In fact, the dev team will spend way more effort just on dealing with those compatibility issues than actually being creative. So what we're trying to do is abstract all of those technical issues, all those technical problems, so that just the creatives can just go 100% creative and create everything really, really simply and easily. It's a philosophy we've always used when making games, is that the more powerful the tool set, the easier it is to make the content, make the games. As a result, those games will be better for it.
So when somebody goes through the process here, I'm going to do this kind of thing. The assets come from where? This is stuff that I can just pull in any video that I've shot, graphics that I've designed.
So the plan is to, right now you can just import from your sort of desktop. At the moment, it's running on, and it's free. You just download it for Mac and Windows. The iOS and the Androids, they're in submission at the moment. They will go through a soft launch in certain territories, and then they'll be rolled out properly in the autumn to everybody. You can import the assets, whether they're voice files, audio files, visuals, stills, GIFs, videos, all different formats. But we also have built-in library of kind of lots of things like sound effects and ambience. We've got lots of pictures in there, but that's something that we're still working on building up.
Okay, so so take me through the process here. I'm gonna drag and drop. I'm gonna edit. I'm gonna put a bunch of transitions in. It's ready to go. It's finished. Then what? Where am I publishing?
You go to the settings. You type in who the author is. If you want to put any contributors in there, if you want to put who the copyright belongs to, you fill in all those boxes. You tick whether it's a horror. Like we've got shelves on the library. You tick sort of what shelves you want it to appear on, whether it's the horror shelf or the mystery shelf or whatever shelf. Tick one of those. What ages the content is appropriate for. And then there's a publish button, and you hit the publish button. We will go through a moderation, so somebody at our side double checks that you're not lying, that it appears to be all right. You haven't put that it's suitable for 12-year-olds, and then you've got inappropriate content, videos, etc. Suddenly show up. So we'll have a quick check of it, and then we basically make it live for everybody else to see. After a while, after you've published a few things, or you've done a few updates, and you're all good, then you'll become a trusted member, and stuff will just go through without moderation.
Is there a time limit? Like, say, if I'm making a short film or I'm making a series or something like that. I mean, is this something I can just upload
We've
a
hit
video?
No limits. No, we've hit no limits. In fact, one of the settings, sorry, I forgot to say, is kind of what the duration is, so that when people they select a title, they get the title card. On the title card, it will say the orientation, whether it's landscape or portrait, whether you have to view the screen. Interestingly, a lot of these things, you don't actually have to view the screen. If it's well scripted, and a lot of the titles that we've put up as example titles are well scripted, you can actually play without looking at the screen. You could actually be blind and play these games, literally, some of them. So on all those settings, it says what is the average playtime, and it comes into categories. We've just introduced Richcast Shorts, which are anything under 5 minutes, and then we've got the sort of 5 minutes, quarter of an hour to 30 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour, and then an hour plus. And there's a little logo that appears on the title card to say what the author has selected this title duration. There's a couple of other settings like the difficulty, and a couple of other settings. I can't think what they are right now off the top of my head.
So this strikes me. You mentioned games and playing games and whatnot, and this strikes me as, yeah, there are a lot of those, choose your own adventure. What do you do next? And it goes
all that kind of stuff works. Yeah,
but it also strikes me that this is a place. A platform that could also be used just for straight storytelling. I mean, it doesn't necessarily. Is there a necessity for the interactive?
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be interactive if you don't put choice tiles in. Choice tiles are there to sort of make branches and to take it in different directions. But if you wanted to make an interactive linear comic, you could. If you just wanted to sort of monetize, because everything's got a price attached to it and you take royalties. If you want to basically have a different place other than TikTok or YouTube to upload some videos and put a price on them. If you think you've got an audience that will pay for it, then that's fine. The other thing I forgot to mention is that when editing projects, everything is stored online. It's an online system, which means you can invite collaborators in and friends. So you might be really good at writing or story testing. You might have a couple of friends who are artists or audio guys or people you just want to test it early. And you can invite them in to look at the project and test the project and contribute towards the project as well.
So let's say I'm putting together an independent comic book and it's going over onto Indiegogo. It's your standard traditional format layout of a comic book.
Yep.
What kind of adjustments would I need to make to a print project in order to adapt it and put it over on something like Richcast? I mean, is there a lot of conversion involved?
So for every page and every cell, you'd have to sort of output them as PNGs or JPEGs or something, then import them in. If you want those story pages to be read, you'd have to type in those text boxes and assign them to characters. So you set up actors, and then you would put in a tile for an actor, open it up, assign the actor, type the text, and then when it hits, you see all the diagram of the flowchart. When game kind of hits that tile, that actor will read those lines.
Gotcha.
And it's kind of as simple as that. And I was going to say, our aim is to make it so that anybody and everybody can make and publish interactive stories or linear stories, quite frankly. It is kind of, as we say, a next generation media. That's what we're trying to achieve.
So if you're just publishing a story that's linear and it doesn't have any interactivity to it, do you see a possibility at some point maybe that this could be a competitive platform for something like Comixology or Kindle Reader or any of those things?
Absolutely. I mean, you can even put podcasts on it if you want. So you don't even have to sort of put loads of visuals in there. Theoretically, all of these things are compatible. I think if people do just do linear stuff, they're missing a massive trick, because the idea of having choices within stories or information or anything inside this media is that it makes the media more personal to your player. If they're actually able to sort of make choices, it feels like it's tailored to them. And so they'd be missing a trick. It would work, but they'd be missing a trick.
Now, I got an email earlier this year that was talking about the Creators Fund that has been set up. What can you tell me about that, and is it still going on?
Absolutely. No, it's running really well. As a business, we have to develop the software, develop the platform, promote it, but a platform with no content at launch would be a pretty poor platform. So we have to make example content. Now, the easiest way to get example content before you've properly launched, and to be honest, we're sort of in soft launch at the moment. We haven't properly launched. You can use it, but we haven't really ramped it up. To make that example early content, we've got to sort of kickstart that content by putting some money on the table and saying, look, we're here to buy and purchase creative writing, creative titles and content. We put $330,000 on the table, and I'd say we probably spent about a quarter of it so far. It launched about 6 weeks ago, I think, and we've probably committed about a quarter of the fund so far. And we're looking forward to sort of writers. How we kind of find those writers is we promote the fact the fund exists, and there it is on the website. And basically, we invite people to go and download Richcast on Windows or Mac at the moment, have a bit of a play, check it, they understand it, that they know what they're doing, they like it, and then they can pitch us, and there's a form, they can pitch us a story, and it can be less than 5 minutes, it can be half an hour plus. We don't really mind the subject matter. In fact, the more diversity, the better. We've already got a couple of murder mysteries. We've got space adventures. We've got we've got some horrors. We've got a couple of teen romances. We're looking for diversity more than anything else.
Right.
You pitch it in, and you put a price with it. And we look at what you're pitching, and we look at the price, and we go, does that sound reasonable? Oh, and also we look at the demo. If the writing is really poor English, it's not going to get through, because we need people who can write proper English, and for it to be entertaining. That's, at the end of the day, really important to us. And then we've got a little review team. My brother heads that up to look at it. If we think it looks like it's a goer, we get the guy, sort of the contributor on the phone, have a bit of a chat with them, and knock off some of the rough edges and kind of act a little bit as editors. And then we sort of sign a very, very simple contract with them, agree the milestones, agree the payments, and then we will sort out, in most cases, we'll sort out the art, sourcing the art, basically finessing it at the back end, audio and stuff like that. In some cases, they're videos. I mean, there's DJ Slopes. He's a YouTuber, and he made an interactive YouTube quiz all about kind of video games. He did absolutely everything himself, straight to camera, cut up all the pieces, put it all in, shipped it to us, and we paid him. And we hardly got involved at all. It was brilliant. But for a lot of the writers, we end up sort of sourcing all the artwork, sourcing the voice actors, putting the ambient sounds in and everything. And it's working really well.
All right, and we are going to have a link in our notes for that. Richcast.com is the website. You can also find Philip here in various different places. The OliverTwins.com is him and his brother Andrew. Yes, there's two of them. They're also on Twitter. And you can find out more about Panavox, which is the company developing Richcast, at panavox.com. And of course, richcast.com is where you'll find the player. And who knows, maybe we'll put together a pitch and send some stuff in. I got a couple of ideas. We'll see. I don't know.
That's everybody's got a couple of ideas. We just need to make it easy enough for people to sort of get their ideas down and get them out to the world. It's a little bit more effort than making a TikTok video, but it'll be a lot more rewarding. And we try to make tools as fun as possible so that everybody just has a blast. That's the goal here.
All right, Philip Oliver, thanks very much for being here today, sir. And like I said, we're going to put all the links in the show notes, so all of you out there can find out more. And we'll have you back, and we'll talk about this further.
Thank you very much, Jason. Very kind. Thank you.
Spanning the globe with an electromagnetic signal aimed at the visual and auditory receptors in your brain. This is Sci-Fi for Me TV. Sci-Fi for Me is about to take you on an incredible journey into the realms of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Interviews with writers, filmmakers, artists, and actors. Conventions and fandom, previews and reviews of movies and television. Sci-Fi for Me is working to be the most popular science fiction magazine in the solar system. Subscribe now and enter the fantastic world of Sci-Fi for Me, delivering the multiverse since 2009.
Greetings, seekers of weird and wonderful cinema. This is the Vault of the Killer Bees, the place that celebrates genre films that lie just outside the mainstream, the films that are so bad they're good, and the hidden gems. Now, the early 90s were the heyday of the mom and pop video store. Sure, you had the big corporate video stores where you could guarantee that you'd find the latest copy of the biggest box office blockbuster, but let's face it, no matter how good Ghost or Pretty Woman was, having 4 display units filled with copies of the same 2 films really limited a person's ability to find new and unique viewing experiences. Now, while the mom and pop video stores could not compete in terms of copies of box office hits to grace their shelves, the major studios were charging $80 to $100 per cassette to rental locations. They did make up for it by stocking their shelves with tons of indie movies, most of them boasting outrageous titles such as Bride of the Killer Nerd or Jugular Wine, and they even had more lurid covers that were all designed to jump off the shelves and into the rental bag for the weekend. Now, more than a few of these trashy epics were shot on video, SOV for short, by regional filmmakers from across the country. Ragtag bands of amateur filmmakers armed with Sony Handycams, boom mics made of broomsticks, buckets of red corn syrup, and copies of $30 film school in their car trunks. It's these films that authors Joseph A. Zimbia, Annie Choi, and Zach Carlson chose to shine a light on in their latest book, Bleeding Skull, a 90s trash horror odyssey, and it's published by Fantagraphics. This 264-page alphabetical tome of shot-on-video greatness is jam-packed with reviews, production stills, and cover art for some of the most obscure titles ever to hit the video stores. Now, admittedly, quite a few of these selections in Bleeding Skull aren't worth the videotape that they were shot on, and the authors aren't shy about stating that. But that's half the fun of reading this book. They watch these cinematic pieces of direct, so you don't have to. But for every but for every Tales of the Urban Werewolf, which includes an uncut 7-minute conversation between two characters just sitting on a couch, and fades to black every time there's any sign of violence or gore, there are some true gems like J.R. Bookwalter's Ozone, movies that are competently shot with exciting stories and good acting that elevate them beyond their meager budgets and origins. Now, in the coming weeks, I'll be doing a deep dive into some of these shot on video gems here in the vault, including Ozone, and one that I'm really looking forward to shining a spotlight on, and that is Limbo by Tina Krause, one of the few female directors of shot on video films during that era. It's really, really worth checking out, and I'm gonna love to share it with you in the next few episodes. Now, but until then, I recommend checking out Bleeding Skull, a 90s trash horror odyssey. It's a fun, great peek back to a time of ingenious DIY filmmaking when small-town Hollywood dreams became more obtainable than ever before. And that ends it for this week's episode of Vault of the Killer Bees. We hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, give us a like. Be sure to subscribe to Sci-Fi For Me TV and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss another episode of Vault of the Killer Bees or any of our other wonderful programming here at Sci-Fi For Me TV.
You're watching Sci-Fi For Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009.
Let's get together and do a test. Hi everyone, Jason Hyde here. I'm the editor at Sci-Fi For Me, inviting you to join me for real talk about the issues of the day, plus in-depth conversations with creators and experts in and around the science fiction, fantasy, and horror genres. We're live from the bunker, Monday through Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 Central, only on Sci-Fi For Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009. There.
Are you sure?
There's always one more button to push.
Yeah. And hello everyone and welcome to this week's Salacious Crumbs. So over on Twitter there is a post from Lucasfilm Recruiting. They are looking for a generalist artist for Lucasfilm Animation. It's a hybrid job, part-time on set, part-time remote. They're looking for someone with 4+ years of relevant experience and a BA in computer graphics, fine arts, design, or photography, or a combination of education and experience. There's a list of required skills and competencies over on the listing. We'll have a link for that in our notes. Now, during a panel last week at C2E2, Ahsoka actor Rosario Dawson commented that even though the show is currently in production, one episode is completely finished. After showrunner David Filoni watched it, he and Carrie Beck, who is VP of Animation and Live Action Development at Lucasfilm and also a co-creator with Filoni on Rebels, left both glossy-eyed, and he commented that it was a religious experience. In that same panel, Dawson also confirmed what we've been speculating for quite some time now. Ahsoka is on the hunt for Grand Admiral Thrawn. Not that it wasn't obvious when she asked Mando about it last season, which she also pointed out. Now, Tony Gilroy had a few things to say to Empire Magazine about following Star Wars canon with Andor. He takes joy in that everyone knows the end of the story already, and that limitations like that are liberating. Working in the same time period as other projects might seem daunting, he pointed out that our show is about ordinary people. They're behind the scenes. They're going to build the road to the revolution. We're really in the kitchen with these people. These people are back there washing dishes, so canon might be happening off stage, but what's happening for them is something completely different. And if they did have any questions, they did go to their Star Wars lore advisor, Pablo Hidalgo. Denise Go, who is IBS officer Deirdre Miro, reached out to Jodie Whittaker on how to get her sci-fi space talk to sound convincing. The doctor's advice? Not run, but power of imagination, imagining the pictures in your head. We know that Tony Gilroy can put together a pretty tight thriller from his Bourne films, but now he's adding Star Wars terminology to it. According to Gilroy's comments to Empire, catching a mass audience is his goal with Andor. He says, "Our goal with this show is ambitious, but simple. We want to blow the hardcore Star Wars people away. But we also want their husband, neighbor, sister, that person in their life who's never got why they like Star Wars. We're absolutely going for both audiences." And we know Andor will be debuting September 21st with 3 episodes. Lucasfilm has now confirmed the rest of the release schedule for the remaining 9 episodes. They will be every Wednesday through November 23rd. Then we can be sad and gorge ourselves the next day on turkey in our sadness. Fantasy Flight Games have announced a new Star Wars game. The deck building game will be released in 2023 and is designed by Caleb Grace, one of the lead designers of Marvel Champions, the card game, and Lord of the Rings, the card game. No details were shared except that it'll be a competitive PvP style game. And in an interview with Star Wars Newsnet.com, Cameron Monaghan spoke about what his character Cal Kestis will be dealing with in the upcoming Star Wars Jedi Survivor. He says Cal has had to persist in the face of extraordinary odds, and in the new game he will be challenged in many ways that we haven't seen before, and that it brings him to moments that are more difficult than anything his character has ever faced, leading him to some very interesting questions for himself and for the galaxy in general. He also said that fans will see Cal change in a lot of ways that are interesting and morally complex. Lego Star Wars released a new short on YouTube this week featuring Boba Fett and Fennec Shand. The short, called Hot Day Hijinks, shows how these intimidating bounty hunters manage to keep their cool on the hottest of days. Description of the short states, Boba Fett and Fennec Shand help the Tatooine townsfolk of Mos Eisley cool off on a hot day. The release coincides with the release of Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation, which is streaming now on Disney+. The film takes place after the events of The Rise of Skywalker and features the voices of Weird Al Yankovic, Yvette Nicole Brown, Kelly Marie Tran, Anthony Daniels, and Billy D. Williams, plus other returning cast members from previous Lego Star Wars specials. Also debuting is the new original song, Scarif Beach Party, by Weird Al Yankovic. It's currently available wherever you stream or purchase music and is available on Disney's Vivo account on YouTube. We have links for the short and the music video in our show notes. And it seems that every season of The Mandalorian leaves us on a cliffhanger with Moff Gideon, and what went on to tease that the show will be. Sorry, I left his name out. Giancarlo Esposito, am I saying this correct today?
Yes, you are.
Has gone on to tease that this season of the show will be off the chain and that viewers will be amazed when they finally see it. And that's according to a report on the Direct. And speaking of cliffhangers, according to Bespin Bulletin, if the listing in Production Weekly is true, Season 4 of The Mandalorian is slated to begin filming next month. Now, this does line up with the last year's filming of Season 3 during this time period at Manhattan Beach Studios in late September. If Season 4 is like Season 3, production will probably run through March of 2023 and would put a premiere date sometime possibly around February of 2024, just like Season 3 is supposed to debut sometime around February 2023. Now, Pedro Pascal does have his plate full, starting to film later this month on a new project, followed by another one right after that. But maybe he'll do Mando in between. When we learn more, we will let you know. More filming rumors for The Acolyte. We mentioned before they would be starting in October at the Volume in Pinewood Studios, and that it would also be filming at the newly built Shinfield Studios in Reading. Now, our new favorite Twitter user, Ahsokas, is stating that they will then move the production to Caithness, Scotland, to film additional scenes. However, no details were provided what those scenes would be for. And we know that the idea of Kenobi being a one and done is pretty much a thing of the past, though no one will officially say it. Ewan McGregor put his 2 credits in during a Q&A at Celebrity Fan Fest event. He expressed interest in returning for a potential second season, saying that he's totally up for it. He wants to do it, but there's no plans yet, and he's sure they're just biding their time, but no one's approached him yet either. Yeah, right. Just like no one ever approached Liam Neeson, right? Oscar Isaac told Jess Cagle over on SiriusXM that he'd be open to be playing Poe Dameron again. He says, I'm open to do anything, never know. I have no real feeling one way or the other, I'm open to any kind of good story, any good thing to do, and times the one thing that could become more of a challenge as you get older and with kids and all that. It's like, where do these things fit in? Start realizing that there's not time for all of it, but if there was a great story and a great director and Kathleen Kennedy came to me and was like, hey, we've got this idea, I'm so open to it. So would you guys be interested in seeing him return in something? And how so? Should his character return? Let us know your thoughts. And finally, over in our pre-order corner, this month, Star Wars Power of the Galaxy Funko Pop series release is Princess Leia from Star Wars holding a Stormtrooper blaster. She joins Jyn Erso, Sabine Wren, and Padme. Leia is available over on Amazon for pre-order for $13.99 and a release date of December 9th. And that's all I got for you this week. You're all invited to join us for the Ranker Pit on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central here on Sci-Fi for Me TV. No telling what we'll discuss or who just may show up. But in the meantime, you can connect with us over on the socials. Salacious Crumbs is on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure you hit that like button, and we will have more Star Wars news for you next week.
You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, your portal to the science fiction multiverse. Thanks for watching Sci-Fi for Me TV. Be sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our channels so you don't miss our next broadcast. You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009.
All right, continuing our news this morning, we've got quite a bit still, not too terribly much, and yes, we're still going to get to that Stargate story here shortly, but first, This question here that's come up, is the Punisher coming to the MCU and Disney Plus or not? Well, that's a question that came up because at C2E2, Rosario Dawson seemed to confirm it was happening, and it went all over the internet. And then Dawson backtracked and said, no, I heard it from a fan that it was happening, and you really shouldn't listen to me because I guess I guess this is not official. Okay, oops, I guess, unless it's not. Meanwhile, Patton Oswalt on the Today Show apparently confirmed a sequel to Eternals with Chloe Zhao back to direct again, except it wasn't on the big board when everything was revealed in San Diego. So, someone at Marvel needs to kind of get a handle on their messaging and maybe have a discussion with people about what's going on where. Cast of Ironheart continues to expand. This week we learned Zoe Terakis has joined the show. Undisclosed role, no comment from Marvel representatives, of course. And we got photos from the set giving us a look at Anthony Ramos and Dominic Thorne. Anthony Ramos apparently confirmed now to be playing the Hood, as some have suspected. There's Dominic Thorne in the motion capture practical hybrid suit. This, of course, the full suit that we've seen, and reactions, of course, online have been mixed, as they are. The Russo brothers have added more to the cast of The Electric State. This is an adaptation of the illustrated novel by Simon Stålenhag. It's set in a retro future past where an orphaned teenager, played by Millie Bobby Brown, is traveling across the American West with a robot and an eccentric drifter. Chris Pratt also in the cast. Screenplay by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, part of the Russo brothers' deal with Netflix. And joining the cast, as we find out this week, quite a few: Michelle Yeoh, Stanley Tucci, Jason Alexander, Brian Cox, and Jenny Slate. Sources tell Deadline that Cox and Slate will voice CGI characters. No other details on individual roles at this time. And we've got a new Netflix series, Supercell, about a group of regular, ordinary people who gain superpowers. Adding Tosin Cole to the cast, he'll play Michael. He's a van driver, everyday working man who's deep in love with Dion, played by Adeleo Adedayo. This is according to creator Andrew Onwabolu, also known as Rapman. The 6-episode series will have a number of black people in South London developing superpowers. Of course, Tosin Cole, you've probably will recognize from Doctor Who as a companion to the 13th Doctor. We've got a new trailer for a comic book, Blade Runner Black Lotus, picking up the story where it ended in the recent anime. Writer Nancy Collins delivers the story. Art by Enid Ballum. The replicant L, known also as the Black Lotus, has escaped L.A., and her creator sets out to find a future while trying to survive her past. This hits comic book shelves. Did hit comic book shelves on the 10th this week. We'll link to the trailer in our notes so you can see that. Also, now available from Abrams Books, Book 2 in the Dune graphic novel, Muad'Dib by Frank Herbert, adapted by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. Art by Raoul Allen, Patricia Martin. Cover art by Bill Sienkiewicz. This picks up as Paul and Lady Jessica are stranded in the desert of Arrakis, and they are out to find the Fremen before they die. It's a hardcover edition, 176 pages, cover price $24.99. It's also available as an ebook. And IDW Entertainment, for so many years we've been hearing about their financial woes, but the media wing here setting in place development of 5 series based on IDW Publishing and Top Shelf Productions graphic novels and comics. And we start with Dark Spaces Wildfire, based on the book by Scott Snyder and artist Hayden Sherman, follows a group of female inmate firefighters engaged in a heist in the middle of a burning mansion. This is working up at Universal Content Creators. And then we have Delicacy, is at Warner Brothers Television, based on the graphic novel by James Albin, about a rare fungi that could spell trouble for an ambitious restaurateur. Rivers is setting up over at HBO Max, created by Dan Barry and David Gaffney, centered around 3 ordinary weirdos and 1 recurring dream. That's the description there. And then Universal International Studios has the deal for The Ballad of Sophie by Portuguese musician Felipe Melo and artist Juan Cavia, telling the tale of what happens when a young journalist persuades a reclusive musical superstar, to finally break his silence. And then we have the other one here, Brutal Nature, from Luciano Saracino and Ariel Olivetti, about a collection of masks that transforms a young man into various beasts and monsters, and he uses the power to set out on a battle that pits the Mayan people against the Spanish Empire. This was going to be setting up over at Anima Studios. In addition, IDW is developing an animated project with Cartoon Network, something they're not ready to announce yet. Publisher It's Alive has resurrected a long out-of-print comic, The Naz, from the late Tom Veitch and artist Brian Talbot. The story follows Michael Nazareth, who's searching through ancient rituals to get superpowers, and he gets transformed into a superhuman as a result and loses a little bit of himself. DC first published this title as a 4-issue miniseries in 1990. This is the first time the story has been collected together in one publication. It's 208 pages. That includes story plus extras. It's currently in demand over at Indiegogo. We've got the link in the notes if anybody is interested in that. And earlier this week on Live from the Bunker, we talked about the apparent death throes of Valiant Entertainment, but they're not dead yet, at least not all dead, just mostly dead. Comics Beat is reporting that publisher Fred Pierce and senior editor Lisa Hawkins are still there. And Comic Resources reports that the line is being completely cut to one title at a time, and they will start with Bloodshot Unleashed from writer Dennis Camp and artist John Davis Hunt, launching on September 21st. Archer and Armstrong will end with issue 4, which was not in the original plan. Book of Shadows will pick back up in January 2023, followed by Exo Manowar Unconquered in March 2023. So it sounds like they're rolling out what they've got left, and then who knows what happens after that. We'll see. I don't know. There is a new article over at Vanity Fair about the upcoming Black Adam. We have pictures of the Justice Society along with a couple of new shots of Dwayne Johnson as Teth Adam. You can see here the various different exclusives that they have, including Hawkman and Pierce Brosnan there as Dr. Fate. And it looks like he's got some... Well, no, those aren't tracking spots. We've got Cyclone. We have Atom Smasher here. So we've got the pictures over there. And Dwayne Johnson talks in the interview about how Superman won't cross a line and kill anybody. He's got a code. I guess he hasn't seen Man of Steel. Black Adam has no such code. Johnson essentially confirms that Black Adam is a villain, not an anti-hero. And he also shares the fact that the original plan was to introduce both Captain Marvel and Black Adam in the same movie. I know. They call him Shazam now, but he's Captain Marvel. Johnson lobbied for them to be separated so each character gets his own origin film, which is why we have the Shazam movie, and now we're getting Black Adam by itself. The rest of the article gives us a glimpse at all the JSA members. We'll put a link in the notes in case you want to take a look at that. And the hits just keep on coming for Ezra Miller, now charged with felony burglary in Stamford, Vermont. This is reported by Variety. According to Vermont State Police, there was a burglary complaint at a residence in Stamford. Officers found several bottles of alcohol had been taken. After reviewing surveillance video and taking statements, police found probable cause to charge Miller with felony burglary into an unoccupied dwelling. Miller has been issued a citation to appear in Vermont Superior Court on September 26th for arraignment. And still no word on what Warner Brothers Discovery will be doing with The Flash, although we did have an article from The Hollywood Reporter saying that there are some options they're considering, including scrapping the film altogether. And then we also have a story coming out that Child Protective Services agencies are also involved in this, looking for that family that was reportedly staying at Miller's place. I think it's maybe time for Mr. Zaslav to cut his losses, but what do I know? Last week, it was Batgirl. This week, Strange Adventures, the DC anthology series from Kevin Smith and Greg Berlanti, is the next one to get the axe. Smith confirmed this on his podcast, although The Hollywood Reporter says that decision was made before the Warner Discovery merger. This show apparently never got past the development stage, and Smith even says on his podcast he understands the decision. It would have been an expensive show to make, given the nature of the different kinds of stories they were going to be trying to make. And with shakeup over at the DC side of things for Warner Brothers Discovery, some are wondering about the Green Lantern series that's supposedly in the works. We haven't heard very much about it, but TV Line is reporting it's still alive and moving forward, per a spokesperson at the streaming network, likely not to hit screens until 2024. And I gave you a tease there. TV Line also reporting the solo Black Canary movie for HBO Max is still a thing, also per a representative. This is the one that was announced in the wake of Birds of Prey, with Journey Smollett as Dinah Lance. But other than the fact that Misha Green is supposed to be writing it, that's all we know. We're told it's still moving forward. We'll see. And our condolences go out to the family of Dame Olivia Newton-John, the star of the roller skating fantasy musical Xanadu, Grease. She also made an appearance on Wonder Woman starring Linda Carter, and her feature film debut, some people may not know this, was in a science fiction film called Tomorrow, and it was a musical group kidnapped by aliens. The movie didn't do too well, which is why she was hesitant to do Grease. The Australian performer died Monday at her ranch in California after battling breast cancer. Her husband, John Easterling, confirmed the news on Facebook, requesting that in lieu of flowers, donations be made to the Olivia Newton-John Foundation Fund. Her damehood came from Queen Elizabeth in 2020, honoring Newton-John's services to charity, cancer research, and entertainment. She was a longtime advocate of cancer awareness and research, as well as various humanitarian causes. She was 73, and we will have a link to the foundation in our notes. And we will be back with more right after this.
You're watching Good Morning Multiverse, live on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
I've been in Machiavellian places, Warner's, Paramount. I've never had that conversation. It's like,
well, you can be a straight shooter here, Cameron. Okay.
Well, that's what we're having. We're having a good conversation, which is
right,
what
Jason?
I would hope.
Wait, I got to check with Jason.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No, but this is the conversation where everyone's presenting their point of view. Some of it matches up. Some of it's like, well, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
That's what you actually need.
Live from the bunker, Monday through Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, only on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
this is where we get into the Star Trek and Orville news. We got just a few items this week. Congratulations are in order to Strange New Worlds. Paramount Plus announcing the show had its strongest debut ever for a Star Trek series, setting a new record as the most watched original Trek series over its first 90 days. It's one of the top 2 most watched original series on Paramount Plus in the UK. Last week, while everyone was talking about the Warner Brothers Discovery earnings call, Paramount had one of their own. CEO Bob Bakish says that Star Trek is one of the driving elements for their global growth. They had 43 million subscribers to the streaming channel. He cited Strange New Worlds, 1883, which is in the Yellowstone universe, and the latest South Park special, specifically mentioning those 3. He did not mention Discovery in that quote. Also in the press release, CBS CEO George Cheeks says Alex Kurtzman and his team have delivered 5 shows that are each a success in their own right, and the latest series is performing both domestically and internationally. He says in the case of Strange New Worlds, they're just getting started. And season 3 of Lower Decks will hit Paramount Plus in the United States August 25th. We now have word that it'll hit screens internationally on the 26th over on Amazon Prime Video. Subsequent episodes will hit each Friday after that outside the United States. In Canada, it's on Bell Media's Sci-Fi channel and the Crave streaming channel for those of you up in Canada. The upcoming Prodigy video game Supernova now has an official release date, October 14th. It'll be available through Steam and Stadia, and you can pre-order it for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X, and Xbox One, and it will eventually be coming to PlayStation 5 consoles, but the pre-orders have not opened up for that as well. Death Angel Shadow says, I can't bring myself to watch any of the new alleged Star Trek. I can think of a lot of things I'd like to see happen to Kurtzman, none of it nice. Well, I will say, speaking just for myself, Strange New Worlds is probably the better of all of them. I have not sat and watched Prodigy yet, but it is on my list of things to get to. I will eventually get around to it. So, take that for what it's worth. Now available from Blue Bricks in Germany. This model of the Deep Space Nine runabout Rio Grande, it's kind of like Lego, but it's not. You can access the interior cabin here, which comes in 2 different parts. You've got the forward section and the aft section there. And this kit is nearly 3,100 pieces, and it will run just a little over $200 to order one if you're in the United States. And if you've got an idea for a Trek product, Star Trek Unlimited has opened their Federation Innovation Program. You can submit your ideas for a Trek-themed merchandise, apparel, home decor, various tchotchkes. Just fill out the form, and who knows where it goes from there. So you can try that. Now, we talked about the Star Trek panel discussions at San Diego, but prior to that, LeVar Burton was at Orlando MegaCon in Florida. He talked about Picard Season 3, saying it was an absolute blast for everyone to be back together again. He says these characters are aging gracefully and appropriately. And one of the blessings of being back together was the story. He also mentioned the fact that given how much they have stuck together as a cast over all of these years, friends and family, it made the experience even more rich. And he does say it's about the next generation of the next generation. Now, we know Burton's daughter, Mika, is playing one of Geordi's kids. And Burton does seem to confirm they spend a little time on the bridge of 1701D, because he actually talks about being on the set. And he says the ramps were a little bit steeper than he remembered. Now, however, now that we've said that, we do have to have a however, because Terry Metalis got on to Twitter and said, nope, that's not the case. He says there are nods to the past, but not what you might think. So, again, take it with a grain of salt. We'll see what we see when Season 3 actually does drop on Paramount+. Kate Mulgrew, in response to a question about her upcoming visit to Bloomington, Indiana, a concern that was issued in the paper there, she is promising not to cause any temporal anomalies when she visits in October. It'll be her first time in the same space as the Janeway statue, and she says, don't worry, she's going to behave. So we'll see what happens on that. The Orville is now on Disney+. The hashtag Renew the Orville, of course, making its way across social media. There's still a lot of fan activity for that, but no official word that we've got any kind of a fourth season for the Orville. We're continuing to keep an eye on that, and we will let you know. All right, that is it for our Triple Bites this week. Every week we have what news we can find for Star Trek and the Orville, and occasionally Galaxy Quest, but we don't have anything for that of late. So we will be back with more next week.
You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, your portal to the science fiction multiverse.
We found out the president of Wizards of the Coast just got promoted and is now going to be running Hasbro. And here, this whole time, we were sitting there thinking they were getting ready to sell Wizards of the Coast. And they might. Maybe we want to keep him. All of the rest of you go away.
The H2O Podcast, Monday night at 8, only on Sci-Fi for Me TV. Thanks for watching Sci-Fi for Me TV. Be sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our channels so you don't miss our next broadcast. You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009. You're watching Good Morning Multiverse, live on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
All right, just a few remaining stories here before we head out. My Hero Academia, back this fall, Season 6 of the anime will be hitting Crunchyroll October 1st, as revealed with this new poster from the show's official Twitter account. There's also a trailer for the upcoming season. The tweet has a link to the character page. Fans are saying things are about to get exciting. Now, readers of the manga, what happened here? I'm frozen. It does look like I'm still going. That's interesting. Am I still moving? Because I'm not moving in OBS. My control panel is frozen up. Okay. Well, we'll just keep going here. There's always something. There's always something. All right, so let me see, because OBS has frozen. So I'm not going to be able to change off of this photograph, so my apologies, folks. We've got readers of the manga for My Hero Academia. They know what's coming next. We're going to have a trailer in the notes. And next Friday, the Minions hit mainland China, The Rise of Gru getting a theatrical window in spite of the strained relations between China and the United States. The news was announced on Universal's Weibo social media account, and we've also got from Universal announcing on Friday a fourth Kung Fu Panda film coming in 2024. March 8th it will hit screens, and that's about all we know about it. And our Stargate story, I wish I could pull up the graphics to show you. Big Finish has some big news for the franchise's 25th anniversary. The audio adventures are back. Series 1 and 2 of both Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis are now available in new bundles with narration on each story by a member of the original cast. Also, SG-1 Series 3 is now available as a digital download with full cast performances starring actors from the shows. 6 stories with Michael Shanks and Claudia Black and tales that were originally published in 2016 now collected all together, wherein Daniel Jackson and Vala Maldoran have to suss out a conspiracy within Stargate Command after a shooting in the facility leaves Daniel the prime suspect. So we'll see how that goes. And does that hint at other Stargate activity? We don't know. But with Amazon having MGM, I mean, it's a franchise with a built-in audience. You never know. So we'll see. And finally, we've got Variety reporting the documentary Doctor Who Am I now has a deal with Kaleidoscope Film Distribution, which will release the award-winning documentary theatrically in the UK in October. At the same time pursuing international sales, the doc tells the story of the 1996 Doctor Who TV film that aired on Fox, the one starring Paul McGann. Writer Matthew Jacobs examines the making of the show that he wrote, along with the reaction it received. It was mixed. Jacobs is on board as co-director along with Vanessa Yale. Jacobs says, now more than ever, we need a positive movie about Doctor Who as we get closer to the 60th anniversary. And I am at the end of my script. And that's all of the stories that we've got for this week. And I still have the circling wheel of infinity death type thing here. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to stop this stream now. Anyway, that's all we have this time, folks. Thanks very much for being here. I'm gonna have to just abruptly hit end stream because OBS has frozen and crashed, and yeah. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Thanks very much for being here, folks. Oh, hey, there it is. I didn't hit that button. All right. So it's one of those things, right? It just I didn't hit the button that made it do what it did. Anyway, while I've got you here still, let me show you the Stargate cover art at least. So there's that. Okay. All right, now we're done. Don't forget that we are on a number of different socials, different channels where you can find us. We do encourage you to connect with us over on Odyssey as well as all the different social media platforms. And yes, we're a reminder that we will have a new Ranker Pit on Tuesday night. We have the H2O podcast Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. And live from the bunker, which is currently doing a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule for August. So we do invite you to join us for all of those. That's going to do it. Now that I have the buttons that are working, we can end the show proper. Thanks very much for being here, folks. Have a good weekend.
Copyright 2022 by Flaming Dog Media, LLC. All rights reserved. No portion of this program may be retransmitted without the express written consent of Flaming Dog Media. You're watching Sci-Fi for Me TV, delivering the multiverse since 2009.